Moving along, I am going to start with the 10 stories in 10 minutes segment on a tweet by Benjamin Dixon. So here you go, everybody. I hope you enjoy this. Check it out.
Look at this. Look at this.
Okay, all right. So it's obviously a very heavy time for all of us, and so I wanted to start on a little bit of a positive note there, and just that group of kids there doing their little Black Lives Matter march, and Benjamin Dixon tweeted that, so just wanted to share that with you to start the show. Moving along, I have a link to Eddie Conway's show Rattling the Bars on the Real News Network. And I would heavily recommend both the Real News Network and Eddie Conway's show in particular. Now, I'm just going to show a tiny piece of this clip here, and again, the link to the rest of it will be in the description. But this is an excellent interview about LA County closing 3 juvenile prisons and some of the history of incarceration in LA County and the vision for what will happen next. That's a quote from the description on Real News Network.
Also seen in the state prisons, there's even more deaths, and in the federal prisons, of course, deaths also. So we have Lamont here in California, Lamont Federal Prison and Terminal Island Federal Prison. Both have had over 10 deaths now. So we have, again, hundreds of people testing positive and dozens of deaths for people in custody. The rates are much higher than in the general population on the outside.
It's also organizing around prisons.
And this is Eddie
do
Conway.
You think that this drive...
I'm not going to play the whole interview, but again, I'm going to link it in the description. I hope you go watch it and tune into the Real News Network for some excellent media coverage. They have a number of black hosts that have excellent shows, so check out the Real News Network. Moving along, I have an update from Portland, and this is from Alex Zielinski, who is a journalist with Portland Mercury. You can find their work at Alex_Z on Twitter. And just to really quick highlight a couple of the threads here. And quote, "Hi Portland, I see a lot of you are getting interested in how our police bureau works. As someone who's reported on Portland cops for a few years, I'm thrilled. To help get you up to speed, I thought I'd share some past stories I've written on policing in Portland." And there's a thread of links here to a whole bunch of stories, and you can learn more about what is going on in Portland, and that is just a great start there to get you started on catching up in Portland. And the link to their Twitter page is in the description. So moving on, Joe Biden has responded to calls across the country to defund police departments with a proposal to give police departments an additional $300 million. And they say, he says, of course, oh, it's for training, so they will know how to act. Well, giving police more money is not going to help the problem, and that's not just me talking. This is a statement by the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, that calls Biden's plan a, quote, non-starter. So that's not just me speaking. Again, that is the official ACLU statement on Biden's policy, calling it a non-starter. And the link to that is in the description. Real quick follow-up to that is Howie Hawkins, the Green Party candidate for president, with a tweet saying, quote, "Biden, like Trump, wants more money for police. We say divest from police, prisons, military, surveillance. Invest in communities, housing, resources for mental health and addiction, alternatives to incarceration, full employment and green jobs, healthcare and education." So the link to that tweet is in the description as well. Keep an eye on Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker with the Green Party for a additional political perspective beyond the capitalist duopoly. Moving on, the discussion this week about the terms reform, defund, and abolish has been raging. So I have just a couple of quick perspectives on some of those terms, and this is one from Mark Lamont Hill in an interview with Haymarket Books.
So when people talk about the abolition of police, ultimately, for me, that means that we want to work toward a world where police will no longer be the way we resolve social contradictions, the way we deal with harm, the way we address crisis, so that police don't have as much work to do, right? So that police don't have as much policing budget and put it in these other areas so that police don't have as much work to do, right? Which, again, in some ways is a good thing, because I don't want police responding to my uncle who's passed out with an overdose, or to resolve a petty conflict of two neighbors arguing when the police show up and someone ends up getting killed because of that, right? I get that. But defunding the police in some ways could just end up taking all the light work off the police's plate, and they have more time to target and occupy and militarize in our neighborhoods. That's not the right answer. So we have to think about, when we use language of defunding, it has to be accompanied by an abolitionist vision.
All right, and the link to not just that clip, but the whole interview, and that's in the description. That's with Haymarket Books, and also featured in that show is Kianga Yamada-Taylor, who is also a really critical voice right now in America. So the link to that full interview, not just that clip, again, is in the description. Now, speaking of Kianga Yamada-Taylor, I have a tweet here to show you from Kianga, quote, "For those newly interested in systemic racism, yes, put up your Black Lives Matter window sign. But stopping this wave of evictions, where African Americans will be disproportionately affected, is where the real fight against racism begins." End quote. And I will report more on this topic in the future, because I agree it is critically important. And Kianga Yamada-Taylor literally wrote the book on this issue. So check that out and follow them for their critical perspective right now. The link to that tweet is in the description. Moving on, I have a link to the description as well to this thread by Zoe Samudzi, who is a writer, and this thread is on the carceral nature of the healthcare system as well, and one quote, "one that gatekeeps and blocks trans people's rights to self-care and gender self-determination," end quote. And you can go ahead and read this whole thread, and there's a whole bunch of really important links with tons of information. And they are an excellent researcher and journalist and resource on that topic, as well as many others. So I recommend you check out their work and that thread in particular. And I will talk more about transgender rights later in the show. I have another thread that I'm going to link to with a whole bunch of links and resources and places for folks to donate if they want to do something for the benefit of transgender communities in America. So stay tuned for more on that topic. Now, moving on, Devon Springer, whose Twitter handle is @halfatlanta, has a quote here. Quote, "I've been saying this to friends all week. The new wave of media response to this moment likely won't be canceled propaganda shows, but rather, quote, heartfelt, raw, and honest episodes that feature caricatures of activists uniting with the good cops by the end of the episode." And they are responding to an announcement of a show here with Terry Crews, some kind of police show. So you will see that as well. The propaganda, the police propaganda is embedded in all of our capitalist media. And so keep an eye on that. And the link to that tweet is in the description. I also have another thread by Devon later in the show. So stay tuned for that, because they have another thread of links that you will want to see. So stay tuned for more from Devon Springer. Moving on, Ramzi Horta is the name of the person who had the video of the New York Police Department killing Eric Garner several years ago, and he was the only one that ever went to jail in that instance. He was targeted by police, he was poisoned by rat poison, he went through all kinds of terrible abuse by the police trying to break him down. But instead of being broken down, he has just been so strong and gotten through it, and now he is out, thanks to pressure from the community. And this is a link to the Ramzi Horta Welcome Home Fund, which raised over $300,000. And it wasn't just the money raised that I wanted to highlight here. What I wanted to highlight was this quote by Ramzi Horta from earlier this month, 6/11, when he was released. So take a look at, let's see, quote, "I just want to thank all my supporters, because you were here battling for and with me. All your letters, petitions, calling, emailing, donations, and just being here for me. I thank you wholeheartedly. You guys gave me the strength to continue on. I want to thank We Cop Watch so much for taking me in when no one else would, for holding me accountable for my actions when others turned their back on me, and for helping show my path into a life of public service." And the link in the description is so you can read the rest of the statement from Ramzi there. But what I wanted to highlight that for is to show you that jail support is critically important, especially for political prisoners, because there's a lot of psychological warfare going on against these folks, and they really need solidarity from the community. And this is an instance where you can just hear someone's words explaining to you how important that is. Moving on, that was 10 topics in 10 minutes, but I have one more link that I want to share with you here before I move on. And this is an excellent one to share with family and other people who may put more weight in a article about police abolition if it's in a very mainstream publication like the New York Times. And Mariama Keba got this opinion piece published in the New York Times titled, "Yes, we mean literally abolish the police, because reform won't happen," on June 12th, 2020. And you can find Mariame at Prison Culture on Twitter, and that is an excellent resource as well. They have just a long history, and they really know what they're talking about on this topic. And I'm not going to read the whole article here from the New York Times, but just please go read this and share this with family, with, this is a good thing to post on like Facebook and things like that, where folks might be more likely to click on something like this. And they are a long-time abolitionist organizer and extremely intelligent and well-researched and accountable to the community as well. So not a voice that you will find in a publication like the New York Times often. So highly recommend that article, and the link is in the description. All right. That was fun. Okay, that was the 10 issues in 10 minutes segment. I didn't actually time myself, so I don't know exactly how I did there. Maybe I went a little long, I don't know. But I want to pick up the pace and be organized with my links and everything, and make this show continue to improve in the future. And I hope that went well for you all. You can find links with more of that information in the description. And send me links if you want to for the next show. You're welcome to email me at PoliticOly@gmail.com, any kind of links or anything like that to get on the show. And